Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and boy, there hasn't been a virus investigations video in a while, Muda. What's up with that? Well, malware is common, but sometimes it's just not as exciting as you think. And that's sort of the story of today's video, ladies and gentlemen. Malware that just ain't as exciting as I thought. Now, yesterday there was a whole hullabaloo of the United States is getting DDoS attack. Now, if you don't know what a DDoS attack is distributed denial of service, meaning that multiple computers around the world are working together to make a billion requests and take down a site. Now, I've talked about this before in videos, where I talked about low orbit ion cannons, multiple tools that are used to exactly enact some sort of vengeance against computers, so to speak, or servers. Now, the thing with all of this is there's a couple points to look at. Yesterday on Twitter, I found a couple tweets that gained a lot of profile and a lot of attention, and I just wanted to sort of discuss them real quick. One of them was talking about how the internet faced numerous outages, right? And they showed me a screenshot of Down Detector, which basically has a bunch of reports for multiple large-scale services that effectively will give you an idea of when a service is going down or if there's some issues with a service. I use it a lot whenever I have some basic problems with anything. Now, the problem with this tweet that I had in particular was that it really didn't give enough context as to what was going on regarding every service. Now, the services they showed in that screenshot were all massive services. We're talking things like Call of Duty. We're talking things like YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. A lot of services that the internet not just relies on, but millions, I would say almost a billion people use some of these apps to an extent. So whenever there are reports of issues happening around the world, by the way, around the world, it shouldn't come as a shock to you that this is actually happening. That's one of the problems that I had with this going forward. The other key issue that I had was a map that everyone was sharing, an attack map. Alright, so if you don't know, there's attack maps that are all around the world that tell you about every cyber attack that's happening in the world. Now, let me show you a normal, healthy cyber attack day, okay? Basically, every country is at each other's necks. The United States is attacking China, Russia, God knows any other state out there. China's attacking the United States, Russia, and every other country. Russia is attacking the United States, China, and every other country is at each other's throats every day. I don't kid you when there's hundreds of thousands of cyber attacks that happen every single day. Now, these attacks aren't just limited to DDoS attacks. They can be far more harmful. Let me remind the audience, a DDoS attack is a very script kiddie attack by today's standards. What I mean by that is I made a video, again, a long time ago where I talked about DDoS attacking and how we can use malformed packets sent repeatedly to actually do some damage to a server. And by doing some damage, we mean take it down for minutes, maybe hours, hey, if you're lucky, a couple days at most, which is completely unlikely by today's standards. Now, I'm going to show you a clip of me pinging a server real quick, all right?
On a very rudimentary level, what kind of happens, if I just do ping www.google.com, oh, not google.co, google.com, you can see that I'm sending packets consistently to one specific IP address. Now, this, I could say, is some form of distributed denial, or not distributed, but denial of service, right? I keep sending pings and requests to one website. Now, one computer doing this actually isn't that big of a deal, and you might be wondering, Muda, are you doing anything illegal right now? No, I'm not. The reality of this is, this actually happens on a very common basis. Every time you connect to a website, you're always pinging them to make sure that the website is alive. So every time you go to your browser and you type in youtube.com, you have to ping YouTube to make sure YouTube can actually be alive, receive your request, and send data back to you. That's how this system works. That's how the internet works on a very, very layman's level. Alright, so in this clip, I had pinged Google, right? Like, I pinged them, I was like, hey, we're pinging these boys. Now, there's also another extension I have to do. It wasn't a moment where I pinged Google and used malformed packets. I didn't want to be malicious about it, but I was just telling you this is something that happens when you're communicating with websites. So again, every time you type in, let's say, roblox.com, you have to ping Roblox, so you have an idea that, hey, roblox.com is alive.
and then Roblox.com, sends you its data packets, you have a back and forth, and bam, the website loads. There's a lot of steps, but it all just happens seamlessly in front of you. It's like that internet computer science magic, right? Now, the thing about this is when you're DDoSing, right, and it's one person going after, it's something that can be swatted away. But when you've got like hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of devices consecutively attacking, even using malformed packets at the same time, it can be pretty heavy for any server, but that's why DDoS mitigation exists. If you look at companies like Cloudflare, who use multiple emerging technologies to actually mitigate DDoS, this attack just doesn't seem as impressive as you once thought. Now, going back to the map, there's something that I want to bring out to attention real quick. The day that I keep seeing a lot of these like news agencies sort of use where it shows that, oh, everyone's attacking the United States that day. Are we just going to ignore the fact that on a healthy day, like I showed you, everyone's attacking everybody, and then all of a sudden, one day, no one's attacking China, Russia, India, any of these countries. No. In fact, all of them just decided to fucking gangbang the United States. Like some fucking just wild shit went down. Like, and not just the United States, but suddenly Brazil as well. So you got a Brazilian American, fuckbang going on, and nobody's just questioning that out of all the days, this is the one day where it's just like, okay, It's harassed the United States Day, and a lot of the actual blame was put to the point where the protests or the Black Lives Matter movement is actually being blanketed out by hackers, which there's no actual correlated evidence of. It's just, I guess an assumption, really. So yeah, there's a DDoS attack that's specifically coordinated to the United States. Now, it's because of this that there's been a lot of misinformation, I feel, when it comes to like cellular phone outages. A lot of people have been using cellular outages as sort of an evidence example that, hey, yeah, there's an actual... Do you see that? The cell phones are going down. That must mean there is a DDoS attack. And this is where I gotta sort of stop for a second, because as far as I know, DDoSing the web servers of like T-Mobile or like any US carrier isn't just going to attack their cell nodes, okay? The actual cell phone nodes that they use to send signals around, receive, send phone calls and data, that's not being taken down. You can still actually make calls. I think if anything, I mean, if I had to really layman's explanation right now on camera, maybe if anything, their mobile data might be slowed down, or maybe that might be taken down. But again, it's incredibly highly unlikely. And it turns out that it actually is pretty unlikely, because it seems like there was just a configuration error on the actual cellular mobile part. Not a massive DDoS attack that actually happened. So yeah, just misinformation, and again, clarification that goes down to it. Now, it's at this point where I gotta explain to you again what DDoS attacks really are. There's multiple tools you can use. A video I spent where I showed something called LOIC, yeah, that happened, but there's plenty of other tools that are out there that you can use, again, purely for educational purposes. I'm telling you this. I'm not actually telling you to go out and do any DDoS. Purely for educational purposes, there's plenty of tools out there, right?
Here's a tool called Slow Loris, which is a type of denial service attack tool invented by, and then they tell you, RSnake, allows a single machine to take down another machine's web server with minimal bandwidth and side effects on unrelated services and ports. Now, this is where you get to a GitHub of it. So again, it's not illegal to have services or tools like this. It's not illegal to develop tools. It's illegal using them against services. And so I'll show you real quick. If you're on Linux like I am, right, you technically can just open up Slow Loris by installing the Python 3 script. And let's say that you wanted to attack, I don't know, like the government of India. I do not recommend you do this, but basically it's this fucking simple if you wanted to do it like on your own. It's kind of like, just, purely as an educational perspective, you hit enter, it starts creating sockets. I'm going to kill it right there so I don't actually DDoS DOS a website. DOS is when it's done singularly. DDoS is distributed denial of service, when you have multiple people doing it. So yeah, I'm just going to kill it right there just so I don't actually DOS them. It was only creating sockets, which isn't fucking illegal. So yeah, let me just do pip3 uninstall Slow Loris and hit Y and just basically wipe that shit. Ooh. Give you that sudo user permission. Yes. And there we go, successfully uninstalled. Another IT security research group that has released a tool called like Application Layer DDoS Simulator, DDoS-IM, which is a Linux-based tool that sends specific types of requests to a target server. So you can see like this is just a rough explanation of the attacker host going after a victim server. ladies and gentlemen, this kind of tool, this kind of an attack isn't something that's so like crazy. You know, I see a lot of people tossing it out like, "Ooh, this is the cyber attack of an age." Like, look at how cyber terrorists have attacked one specific like area of the United, or like just the U.S. in general. Now, to understand something about these tools in particular, they're not exactly the hardest to beat, okay? The thing is, these tools are very old, some of them years old at this point, haven't been updated, and sure, for somebody who's actually DDoSing, it's not hard to write your own DDoS tool out there, and you probably will. But the thing is, the actual DDoS attacks that happen are just not sophisticated enough for them to do this kind of damage. Like I said earlier in the video, we're at a point where tons of mitigation attempts can happen, and there's companies out there that do a pretty damn good job of mitigating DDoS attacks. That doesn't mean it can't happen. You simply can't erase DDoS attacks from existing, because DDoS by nature is just simply overflooding a network or just making so many requests that the server eventually has to stop, okay? Like, at some point, too much is too much for a server to handle. And that's just what it comes down to. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has happened. You know, a lot has come down. But I think, for the most part, there's just been a hell of a lot of misinformation that's been spread around. I don't think the United States has been in a massive DDoS attack. In fact, after a night or two, you've got multiple security agencies that came out and basically said, yeah, there's some misconfigurations and all that. We don't believe that this is some massive DDoS attack. So, yeah, people thought that this was a massive, like, anonymous supercluster raid. But again, looking back at the map, are we really going to be under the assumption that a massive botnet not only exists to this size, but suddenly, out of nowhere, is just somehow attacking the United States and every other country? Oh, fuck, they're innocent. Trust me. There's a lot of shit going on in the world right now, and out of nowhere would a hacker collective just decide to attack one specific nation. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was the DDoS attack story of yesterday. Fucking kind of wild, dude. Sometimes it's a case of don't meet your heroes because you'll be severely disappointed. And yeah, the DDoS left me severely disappointed. Ladies and gentlemen, though, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am